There it is. 6th round compensatory selection. 2000 draft. Tom Brady, quarterback, Michigan. Pick number 199. And as Tom Brady pointed out, his NFL career is now old enough to buy a beer. 21 years he has been in the National Football League. There are guys in the league now younger than his career. There are guys that are young enough to be his kid. There are guys that are less than half his age, Myles, and he just keeps going. Unbelievable career, unbelievable longevity, achievement, performance, everything. Greatest player it's ever played. I remember there was a time not that long ago where it was kind of loosely regarded that Jerry Rice was the greatest player of all time at any position. That ship has sailed. With the Super Bowl 51 win, Brady became the best quarterback of all time, and throwing 2 more on top of that, I don't think there's any debate. Greatest player of all time, regardless of position.
Nah, he's the GOAT. It was cemented for me with this one. And because I just did not see the Buccaneers being a winning team that could, go to the playoffs, let alone a team that would get to the Super Bowl and then dominate and win the Super Bowl. And look, Brady is playing like a top 5 quarterback. He's now getting into his mid-40s. It's unbelievable what he's done and what he continues to do. And there's no reason to believe that he's not going to keep playing at that level at this point.
Yep, and the question is, how much longer will he go? There was a point during the season last year where I thought, this guy's going to play until he's 50. 45? Look, why would you stop? If you can still play, especially because his family seems to be very happy in Tampa. I think it's a different vibe than New England, and I think he was beaten down by Bill Belichick, and it was time. Now that they're in Tampa, they're happy. He's in a groove. He knows what needs to be done. And for all quarterbacks, I'd say at some point, if you're good and you're smart, you get into your 30s, you become part player, part coach. And your brain becomes that supercomputer that has processed everything. After they beat the Falcons in Super Bowl 51, he said, there's nothing that you can show me that I haven't seen before. Well, he's got 4 more years of football since then. So if he can physically keep doing it, and he's mastered also the ability to basically duck and cover. When he sees someone coming at him who can inflict physical damage on his aging body, he gets rid of the football and he curls up. And that's okay. Live to play another day. Smart. Stay alive for your team. Other teams wish their quarterbacks would have done it. 49ers, if Jimmy Garoppolo would have done it in 2018, he wouldn't have torn his ACL on the sideline in week 3 at Kansas City. So I'm impressed with everything Tom Brady's done. And I want to see who the next guy is to stretch his longevity as far as Tom Brady has. Because I have a feeling he's not going to be the only one to do it in this generation of quarterbacks. I think there's going to be others.
This is not still his generation of quarterbacks at this point, man. His generation of quarterbacks they're all gone, pretty much.
The current generation.
Manning,
yeah. Russell Wilson says he's going to play till he's 45, and these younger guys who are coming up now, there's so many good ones. Will one of them make it deep into his 40s? I think one of them will.
Probably, yeah. That makes a lot of sense, especially given the way the rules have changed. Even since Tom Brady's been in the league, right? The rules have changed so that you can't hit quarterbacks low, and you're not supposed to do this with the quarterback, that with the quarterback. So, look, I think that yes, you're right. That the longer guys play, or the more time goes on, I guess I should say, the guys are going to keep playing a long time, especially at the QB position, where the rules are basically formed so that they can continue to play at a high level.
All right, let's get to the draft. The biggest steals in NFL history, draft style, the Tom Brady Memorial Draft, although he's still alive. Myles, you get the first pick.
Well, it can't be Tom Brady because it's the Tom Brady Memorial Draft, and everybody knows that he is obviously the biggest draft steal of all time. But I will go with somebody else from California who played in California, and that is Joe Montana. And he was selected in the 3rd round in 1979. He got a 4-time Super Bowl champion, 3-time Super Bowl MVP. And he is the person who I thought Tom Brady was going to start resembling. After he finished his 49ers career, of course, Joe Montana went to Kansas City, went to the playoffs, thought that maybe Brady could get to the playoffs, but then Brady wins the Super Bowl. But Joe Montana, when you're getting a guy like that in the 3rd round, that's a huge steal.
I will go with another quarterback from a generation before Montana, and that would be a guy who was drafted in the 10th round. of the 1964 draft by the Dallas Cowboys. Roger Staubach had to fulfill his naval commitment, landed in the NFL, and ended up being one of the great quarterbacks of his era. One of the guys who never really gets brought up in the conversation for the all-time greats, Shireen Williams, who has Roger Staubach's jersey hanging behind her. Whenever she's on the show, she would argue that he should be in that conversation. When she was in, I think, third grade, she asked her teacher how far it is from Houston to Dallas. She grew up in the Houston area, and the teacher said, why? And she said, I've got to go. I'm going to marry Roger Staubach. So, and is this really, I wouldn't have included him if I'd have known that we were going to show the all-time cheat play by him and Drew Pearson. I bet he told Drew Pearson before the snap, if all else fails, push that guy down. Anyway, I still say Staubach's one of the all-time great draft steals. He also was drafted in the 16th round by the Chiefs in the 1964 AFL draft, Myles.
Well, that's good to know. Very interesting stuff there. Good trivia for that. But yeah, shout out to Shireen Williams, who I was going to say Roger Staubach with my next pick if you didn't. So we would have seen that clip anyway, Mike. I will say for my next pick, though, is a steal, Deacon Jones, who was taken the 14th round of the 1961 draft. Talking about a guy who's two-time Defensive Player of the Year. If I'm not mistaken, because this happened long before I was born, he coined the term sack, right? Because he's the one who was always getting after the QBs. And of course, back then, there was no sack stat. But if there were, he would have had 20 sacks for 3 times in his career. And that is just unbelievable. So I think he's definitely one of the top draft steals of all time. Member of the fearsome foursome in LA.
He was also the master of the head slap, a move that became illegal. But one of the techniques for getting past an offensive lineman was literally take your palm and slap the offensive lineman in the helmet, rendering him momentarily incapacitated, apparently. But that's what Deacon Jones did to get to the quarterback. All right, I'll go with another quarterback here. Hall of Famer, Super Bowl MVP twice in that chain of great Packers quarterbacks. Although it was broken for about, 25 years, it's been solid for the last 25, from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. It was Bart Starr before that. He was a 17th round draft pick. 17th round. Goes on to be one of the great players in Packers history and the MVP of not just the first Super Bowl, before it was even called the Super Bowl. It was the AFL-NFL championship game, but also, I think they didn't even come up with Super Bowl. They may not have come up with Super Bowl until 3. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
at some point, Lamar Hunt came up with the name. But regardless, what is now in hindsight the first 2 Super Bowls, Bart Starr was the MVP.
Yeah, I believe it was there was just the Football World Championship or something like that between the AFL and the NFL in those first 2 years. Great pick, though, Bart Starr. But I am going to go sort of off the board here for my next pick as a draft steal. And I'm stretching the rules because that's something you always do whenever we do this, Mike. But I know what you're going to do.
Oh,
what?
Okay, go ahead. No, that's not what I thought. No. That's fine. I thought you were going to go with an undrafted guy. I thought you were going to go with an undrafted guy. I thought you were going to go Kurt Warner. Because you can't quit the Rams. Even though you quit the Rams 4 years ago, you can't quit the Rams.
It's actually like 2.5 or 1.5. But
okay,
yeah,
time is an illusion.
Whatever it is. Yeah, exactly. And you don't know how old I am anyway, or when my birthday is. But the Broncos, when they got John Elway, they traded for him from the Colts. The Colts picked him at number 1 overall. But you're talking about a draft steal. How about a guy who becomes your franchise quarterback for the better part of 2 decades, ends up winning 2 Super Bowls for you late in his career to finish off his career? And they went to enough Super Bowls and beat the team with the helmet behind me in the 80s many times in the playoffs. So I think that is a kind of steal because, look, all the Broncos had to give up was the 19th overall pick the next year that turned out to be Ron Salt. And then they gave up lineman Chris Hinton and a backup quarterback in Mark Herman. That sounds like a draft steal to me, Mike.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I have no problem with you doing it. I really did think you were going to go with an undrafted guy because technically that's a draft steal. That's a guy who wasn't even picked. I mean, John Randall, for crying out loud, was undrafted at a time when there were 12 rounds in the draft. He was undrafted. All right, I'm going to go with there are other guys who had much better careers, like a Steve Smith, who was a 3rd-round pick in 2001 of the Panthers, like a Shannon Sharp, who was a 7th rounder. of originally the Broncos, and then went on to further stardom, with the Ravens. I'm going to go to Bo Jackson because I continue to be fascinated by the Bo Jackson draft experience. 1986, ready to play baseball. Buccaneers are going to take him. He told them, I'm not signing with you. I'm not doing it. I'm going to play baseball. They used the first overall pick on him anyway. And the way the rules work, if you don't sign, you go back into the pool the next year. And the Raiders, at a time when no one else was really thinking about it, they threw, I think it was a 7th-round pick on Bo Jackson. And I know his career didn't last very long. And I know that he had that hip injury that derailed both his football and baseball career. And it's a shame because the guy was magical. The guy was special. It was fun to watch baseball when he played. It was even more fun to watch football when he played. But for that period that he burned as bright as anyone. And to think that the Raiders got him for that steal, that the true steal. You want to talk about a steal? Nobody's even paying attention to Bo Jackson. Oh, here we go. Thank you very much. We'll take Bo Jackson. So literally a steal. That's my pick. By the way, the Super Bowl name began to be used in Super Bowl IV. It was the AFL-NFL championship game before that, but it was Super Bowl IV when Lamar Hunt's brainstorm became the official name of the game.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.